Dear Stay Star viewers, welcome. So today we are going to deal with this concept called theory of firm. Okay, so this topic was left behind. To explain it clearly, I left it that day, but today we will wind it up so that we can go further with other topics. So we are going to deal with these concepts called firm, its objectives, and theory on objectives of firm. So as usual, we'll come with a definition first. So let's see this definition. So firm. Usually what do they say when you hear this word firm? What do you feel? What do you explain or how you define this firm? As a small business unit where business is carried out, like exchange of goods and services, sales, output, input, all these words are included. So all these words, if you include and put it in a correct way, is what this definition says. It is a single line definition. I'll explain you. So firm is a unit which transforms the higher inputs into outputs for sale, is what business is. So you get the inputs into your business, change it as raw materials to finished goods, and you send it to for sales. Yes or no? So you hire the inputs, you hire the employees to do the work by paying some amount. In the same way, by paying some amount to goods and services, you hire them into your business to convert it into something else called finished goods and to send to earn profits or to increase your sales, is what called as a firm. So I am repeating it again, note it down. Firm is a unit which transforms the higher input into outputs for sale. Clear with this? Repeat it again and again, or pause the video and you can check this definition, it's clear. And then objectives of firm. Obviously, whenever you start a firm or a new institution or a new policy, whatever it is, we frame the objectives. Like what is first, what we have to get out of it, how we should do, we formulate the steps, yes or no. So here also few objectives are there for us. So those objectives need not be explained again because that's the same thing which comes here. So that formulated objective, that objectives are given, delivered by few of this gentlemen in the form of theories. Like formulating objectives are fine, but you should know what work should be done at what time. Like right work at right place, right time with the right person. Yes or no, we have this concept. So even this objectives, to achieve something, we should have that coordination between that objectives and that clarity to do what thing at what place. So these objectives, they say, they contradict the point, they also add a point, and also they deliver some other point. Like, see, for example, we have this 5 different types of theories. What is the first theory? Profit maximization theory, that was given by Nobel laureate Milton Friedman. Nobel laureate Milton Friedman gave this profit maximization theory. He supports this theory. He says yes, it is correct, and it has some formula. Again, Baumol's theory of sales revenue maximization. Baumol's theory of sales revenue maximization. Then Merris hypothesis of maximization of growth rate. What is that? Merris hypothesis of maximization of growth rate. And then what is the other one? Williamson model of managerial utility functions. Williamson model of managerial utility functions, which have a mathematical equation actually. That's mathematical expression. This is this. I'll explain you again. So next, the remaining is behavioral theories, which is again characterized into 2 types. Simon's satisfying model and model developed by Chest and March. Model developed by Chest and March. These are the 5 different types of theories or objectives. Like whenever you take some subjects in maths, science, computers, and etc., we have few different theories given by different persons, gentlemen. So if you take maths, Pythagoras theorem, Baudian theorem, many things we have. And if you take science, the famous Newton's first law, second law, third law, all the laws relating to gravitational force, energy, frictions, etc. And if you take economics, you can't say, you have n number of theories. Like defining the economics itself, we have the 4 definitions given by 4 different people called Adam Smith, Alfred Marshall, Lionel Robbins and Samuelson. And also Alfred Marshall also gave law of diminishing marginal utility, law of alpha marginal, different types like diminishing marginal utility and equi-marginal utility, Then law of variable proportions, Keynesian theory of employment, Ricardian theory of rent, national income definitions. We have many theories in economics. Coming to commerce, different definitions was given by different people regarding business, regarding commerce, and combining both. Again, that differences definition was also given. In the same way, we have theories for this objectives of the firm also, which is a part of business. So, here, first one is about profit maximization theory we are discussing right now. So, as I already told you, this definition or this theory is supported by Nobel laureate Milton Friedman. Nobel laureate Milton Friedman. You can see the name here, and this is the formula. So, whenever we study something, we have to think why, what, and how. So, why is this definition given, how it is done, and what is the reason behind it? So, profit maximization theory was given by Nobel laureate Milton Friedman. He says profit is really important to any business. That stands as a really important thing to any business, and to survive in this market situation, he says important. Why? Why means it because in market situation, either to stand as a leader in a market or at least to survive in this market, saying that even your business has an existence, that profit is really important, and that profit status, everything, this market situation, the status, whatever the survival, whatever it is, everything relies on the single point or a single stage called as profit. And profit is fine, you got this profit, but maximization is also important, right? How to maximize it, how to keep it everything every time at a top position. So, just getting a first rank is not important. Once you get first rank, second time you should not get second rank or third rank. It should always be in the top itself. In the same way, profit should also be in the top position, so that your company will be at the peak stage, prosperous stage. And then that was said by profit maximization theory. So now you got to know, like you understood that yeah, profit is important, but how to calculate that profit? What is that equation? We have many equations. One of them are given here for you. So the equation or the formula is profit is equals to total revenue minus total cost. Now I'll explain you how. Now you bought a book, you made that book and you want to sell that book to 100 rupees. Got it? Understood? So that 100 rupees is your revenue. You sold it to someone, you got 100 rupees. That 100 rupees is your revenue, out of which your cost that you incurred while making or binding that book is of 50 rupees. That's what I wrote here. Book value or the revenue is 100, whereas the cost incurred while making that book making charges, that is cost, is 50 rupees. 100 minus 50, 50 is your profit. If you substitute that in a given equation, so profit is equals to total revenue minus total cost. That is a formula here. Yes, see. So you can write either like this also, it doesn't change. So profit will be this side, now it is this side. So total revenue minus total cost. Total revenue is 100 minus total cost is 50. So total your profit is 50. So got it? This will be done in the larger amounts, and we have many other formulas. Just to understand and for our convenience, I gave a small thing so that we can understand. And that is not a great deal, that is really difficult. You can learn it slowly, it is really easy. So that is about the profit maximization theory. If this is BIFA classes and everything is combined here, it's a business, economics, financial analysis. Usually for commerce people, we have different subjects wherein we study this same concept we will be studying in different places. Once in business economics, another time in financial management, and somewhere in financial accounting, and somewhere in other subjects also relating to finance. So wherever it is, the concept is the same and person doesn't change. So if you study in computer applications or in FIT, whatever it is, who invented computer? It is Charles Babbage. So in the same way, the definition doesn't change. It will be the same and it will be said by the same person and the concept remains the same. So the people who ever have the doubts about profit maximization, this is the concept. If you listen to it thoroughly and note the points, then this is the formula which is really important while stating this definition and example, and it was given by Nobel laureate Milton Friedman. These are the two important points, and why and how I already explained you. So this is a clear topic of profit maximization. If you are able to write and remember only this, then you will be perfect in this concept called profit maximization theory. Done? Let's go to the next point. Baumol's theory of sales revenue maximization. So whenever new theory comes or a new study comes, many of people, like nowadays, they are taking to do PhDs and all. But is it a course that can be completed in 3 years? That is a study upon a particular theme on a small topic. They do years of research. It doesn't mean it in 3 years you can be done. It is not a degree course. It is a study on particular small topic. Education is like ocean, and in a small topic we do research, and that research, that study will be put in our books and we are studying it today. Whatever we are studying it today is not a part or a bit. Because of this theory only, they spend some years of time to do research on that, to provide a right education for us about this topic. Whatever it is a science or maths, whatever it is. So whenever we have a new concept, that question obviously arises, like how does it work? So even the same way, so Baumol's theory of sales revenue maximization is a second objective that he gave about this sales revenue maximization. Sales revenue maximization is an objective, and that theory was formulated by Baumol. So he questioned the validity of profit maximization. So how can you say that profit is important when the demand for your products is getting you sales, and because of that sales you are getting profit? Then how can the profit become the primary thing for you? No, it is important, but that is secondary, and sales comes first. For that sales, people should have a demand for your products and services. That gets a great demand, that gets a great sales, and that will add to profit. So sales comes first and profit comes next. I won't say profit is not important, but sales should be the first. That's what he says. So here, and he also says another thing is, profit is important to satisfy the shareholders, showing the minimum profitability position in the business at the end whenever they come to take the profits. But manually, whoever is managing it are the managers in the company, and they strive a lot to protect their job, to have job security, good status, good income. So that managers will have that mind, so that we should get a good status and reputation and good salary. They work hard, in turn we get the profits and sales. This all will be managed by management. So this is what he says: to get a good amount of sales, you should have demand for your products, and the people in your company should work hard, through which they expect something and they work, but they won't really think of the company. Just to show that profits are there at the end of the company, profits we should have. So profits are secondary, wherein sales comes first. That's what he says. And now third person, Merris hypothesis of maximization of growth rate. Now let's see what this person says. So he is saying that, see how growth rate is important, how profit is important, sales is also important. We should try to balance both the things. Like eyes are important, all the sense organs are important. In the same way, the growth rate important, the profit is important, and also sales revenue is important. If you try to balance both, only the company will be at a prosperous stage. As I told you, getting once first rank is not important. Once you get first rank, you should be in that stage itself. You should not get down. So this concept will be called as business cycle, wherein you will have different stages. So beginning stage, recession stage, prosperous stage, again getting to present stage, etc. So that is called that business cycle. I will be explaining you in further classes. But as I said, that peak stage is called a prosperous stage. Once you reach that stage, then you won't like if you continue for years on that, if you can see the growth rate or profits margin graph, in 2010 it was like 50%, 2011 60, 2012 70, like that till 2019 or something you reached a prosperous stage called 100%, and you stood and you continue to be in that prosperous stage for 10 years or 20 years, and you're not getting down. So that is at a peak stage, and Merrill's hypothesis says that that will only be possible if you are trying to manage both and balance both, that is profit maximization and sales revenue maximization. Both are interconnected and it has two difficulties, that is management difficulties and financial difficulties. So management difficulties and financial difficulties. Management difficulties means workers are not at all bothered with the profit that a company get. They are 100% bothered only about their job security, their salary, etc. In order to get that salary, no one is going to call and give you the salary, right? You should work hard for them, so they work hard for you, but it doesn't mean that they are bothered. So if you are taking, if this profit etc everything is managed by top level management, that is shareholders and investors, if they are bothered about that and they produce the investments and all, and if they take care of this profit, then these people thoroughly and free and conveniently they'll take care about the management activities. So there should be a coordination between this management and also at the higher level. So that is what, financially they should also be strong and managerially they should also do their own activities. Both combinedly only you can be able to be at that prosperous stage. If not, it's not gonna happen. So that's what he says. And there should be a demand for your product and services that gets you sales. And to get the demand on product, obviously the staff should be in a good, active and working positions. So they will work, and both, if you are managing both, you will get that prosperous stage. If not, no. Then fourth one is Williamson's model of managerial utility functions. He is saying about managerial utility functions. So here he also gave a equation, like we have demand function, supply function, we have equations for that. It is a mathematical equation which states a different things. So here, based on this growth maximization itself, he gave us a formula like xn is equals to f of rn y4. So what is xn here? It is a managerial utility function. How here profit is equals to TR minus TC, how we told. Here also this managerial utility function is the main thing, and f is equals to function obviously, and r is equals to salary that a person or an employee gets in an organization, n is equals to managerial emoluments, whatever it is involved in the work things and all, and then y4 is equals to power of discretionary investments. So here he says that employees, whoever are working in that organization, they put at most their discretionary powers and investment. Investment, it doesn't mean only the amount, their interest, their technical expertise, everything they put into this job to get their salary, and in orderly, obviously it contributes to that profit. Yes or no? So this is the equation where xn is equals to managerial utility function, f is equals to function, r is equals to salary, n is equals to managerial emoluments plus y4 is equals to power of discretionary investments. So these all combinedly will make us to go to that prosperous stage. So that is what he defined, and this thing is really important. Make the note of it. xn is equals to f of r comma n comma y4, where xn is equals to managerial utility function R is equals to salary, N is equals to managerial emoluments, and Y4 is equals to power of discretionary investments. So clear with this point? Williamson model of managerial utility functions. So then can you observe a small point? Like everything are really interconnected. They are connected with each other, but they inside itself they are again conflicting with each other, that my point is important and your point is secondary. So but anyhow they are interconnected. And the last but not the least, the topic which is left is behavioral theories. Behavioral theories are again divided into two types, that is Simon's satisfying model and model developed by Chest and March. Simon's satisfying model and model developed by Chest and March. So Simon's satisfying model says this model is helpful whenever the business goes into some uncertainty or it's facing problem because of some inadequate information. So to solve a problem or to solve an issue or to get a solution or to get a perfect knowledge, you should have that perfect information in your thing. So whenever you solve few problems in your accounts or maths or science, whatever it is, if you don't have the complete information regarding that problem, then what you say? This question is incorrect, we can't solve this. Yes or no? In the same way, even if the balance sheets are not accurate and the information is not accurate, you have taken some wrong amount, then it doesn't tally. So in the same way, if it is a situation, then Simon's satisfying model is what helpful to solve such kind of problems. At that time it is useful. And this behavioral theory mainly concentrates on satisfaction. To have that satisfaction, you are doing your job fine, you are getting salary, today, tomorrow you are using it to cover your expenses, your incomes and etc. But you don't have that satisfaction, like I am doing this job, I am feeling happy, like that. So here that satisfaction means the profits, the status which you get and the leadership that your business has in the market. All these three things will satisfy a business to be in that peak stage. What are those three? Profits, status, the good reputation for your business in that leadership in that market. All these three things makes you satisfied. Yes or no? When someone praise you for the work you have done, only you will have that satisfaction to work, or else you don't have any satisfaction and you feel like downing yourself, and one day it completely goes down. Yes or no? So that satisfaction is what is important here, and this Simon's satisfying model says whenever we have some inadequate information or some conflicts or some uncertainties, so it is bounded with deals with bounded rationality, wherein it involves all these issues. And if you have any situations according to this, like uncertainty and all, at that time this Simon's satisfying model will be applied there. But the other model says, model developed by Chest and March says, no, you are saying Simon, it's fine that your solution is important whenever you have this situation. Okay, it's fine. But like how we had corona first and now we got a Covaxin for that. It is like Simon's satisfying model. Whenever the problem comes, you apply this. But here he says that before getting the problem itself, if you are trying to solve small issues, like we take the same example, we got this COVID because we were not I don't know how it is created, that virus, but it is spreaded because of our negligence only. The rules which we are taking care of now, if we would have taken care before itself, we would avoid all these circumstances. That's what he says. In the same way, in the business also, there are many conflicts. There are three levels of management: top level, middle level and low level. So low level problems cannot be understood by the higher level, and higher level cannot understand the middle level, and this low level will be dominated by middle level, and middle level will be dominated by top level. And that problems or small minute issues cannot be noticed by each and every one of the organization. If you are able to notice then and there itself, and you're trying to solve those small issues without any procrastination or without any delaying of time, then and there itself, then you'll have larger amount of profits, and it won't go into some other situation where uncertainty comes into the point. So that's what he says. Instead of creating the problem and applying this law, if you stop then and there itself when the problem is going to create, then it fetches you a lot of profit, is what this model developed by Chest and March says. So clear? I hope it is clear and relevant with examples, and formulas are really important. I hope you took the note of everything that comes to the end of the session, and I'll be coming with a more interesting and important videos hereafter. Please stay connected to Shrestha. Thank you.